Good morning. My name is Frank Webster, and I am this week's host of Wednesday Coffee and Horology, the first day of October. So we've gone over into another month. Time flies. Isn't that what they say? Somewhere. Well, I was up late last night, was at a reggae festival at an open air theater. Thank goodness it was open air because there was a lot of stuff in the air. So, yeah. Chris smiles. That's right. All right. Well, we'll start this week with a quote of the week. The quote of the week says, "Time is precious, but truth is more precious than time." Benjamin Disraeli. Hmm. When I heard that quote, I thought, Disraeli Gears. That's a band from like the 1980s, I think. But Benjamin Disraeli was actually Prime Minister of England twice and organized the Conservative Party there. So interesting, Mr. Disraeli, because truth is more precious than time. So this morning we're going to talk about watches. I'll let a couple of our watch folks in here this morning. Particularly, we're going to talk about uh, how do you find a watch gathering? What are they called? How do you get involved with them? Because, as the invitation says, I have been noticing more and more watch type activity at marts and at gatherings. And so I want to figure out how to get involved because it has to do with horology, watches, and I like sharing horology. So, but before we get started, I wanted to share a tip. I know one of the most important parts of a wristwatch that sometimes people think of as an afterthought is the band. Well, I happen to have a uh, wristwatch that has a leather band that has started to come apart. So I decided I better figure out how to fix the band. And so I thought I would just share that this morning. And as you can see, the right where the buckle goes on the end of this leather band is has come apart. It's just a flap that comes over and it's made out of leather. So first thing I had to do was I had to ask and find out what kind of adhesive do you use with leather? It's there's some sign of an old adhesive that this watch band comes from the 60s. So I thought, well, it's not hide glue. Maybe we just use a little stupid glue on it. Well, not so. Our my leather craft friends said, no, Frank, don't use that. Use this. This is called barge, and it's a all-purpose contact cement, and it's used in leather crafting. And what you see down at the bottom is actually a plant label, but it's a piece of plastic to use as an applicator. If you've used contact cement before, you might know that, yeah, it comes in a can, you open it up, and it's like gooey and gooey. This stuff is very fluid, liquid. And so, what you have to do to make sure that it doesn't run all over the place is you have to mask off where it is that you want the adhesive to go. This is how you keep from letting it run all over the place. The instructions say that you apply it, you let it dry completely, and then apply a second coat, let it dry completely, and then you can see it's kind of soupy. But then once it's dried completely, then you press the two parts together, and it's not an instant bond. It actually has to cure for 12 hours. So you can see I have a little clamp that I've clamped it. And in the end, it was a beautiful thing. If you get a little of this glue that spreads too far, or you need to clean up a little extra on the side, a Q-tip and a little acetone. Clears it all up. So I thought I'd share that this morning. If you have a wristwatch that has a leather band that's coming apart, you can repair it. All of this is part of horology. Well, on to the discussion this morning. If you're a watch person, how do you get together with other watchy kind of people?
Watching kind of people.
Tom, have you got any clues for us?
I actually do. There's an event coming up soon. If I can show this.
Watch time.
So there's Watch Time New York. Watch Time Magazine is actually an international magazine. They've got several publications throughout the world that are country specific. And annually, they hold this for the past 10 years. They've had this event called Watch Time New York with somewhere between 20 and 30 some watch manufacturers that show their new watches. So they've got 11 new releases that will be shown this year at the show. It's a 3-day show. The first night is rather expensive, but then the Saturday and Sunday it's about $10 for an entry fee.
Hey.
So Watch Time Magazine, a subscription to that opens the door to a lot of things. You'll see information about a lot of watch groups in there.
That's very interesting. So in publications, gatherings of manufacturers advertise these events.
Yes.
All right.
Now, the other avenue is the Horological Society of New York, HSNY. It's, I think, the oldest horological society in the United States. And your membership there gets you subscriptions to a couple of other magazines, mostly online. Some are difficult to read, but I find Watch Time is very readable and a lot of information in there.
All right. Well, that's great. That's great. So these are almost like trade shows, I guess, huh?
Yeah, but mostly to the public rather than to distributors.
Okay.
Actually, the local distributors frequently man the booths for the companies like Breguet and Blancpain, Vacheron Constantin. They're frequently there. And so the local distributor from New York will frequently man the booths there, sometimes with people from headquarters.
Yeah. All right. Very interesting. Now that's one avenue. I'm not going to travel to New York this weekend, but that's a good avenue for finding out new watches coming out. New watches coming out. Does anybody know? And I'll share. Bob Burton will testify that there's a group, when we call them the Watch Guys, here that gather about once a month, and that's what they do. They bring in watches and show off watches and stuff like that, but it's mostly a local show. Would you say, Bob?
Yes. Now, a lot of you have heard of the group called Red Bar, and apparently it's a big watch meeting thing. They're talking about trying to get a Red Bar event going during our June convention in Lexington, Kentucky at the National Convention. I think it'd be a good addition to it. So I think they're very well attended from what I've heard.
And they have local chapters and stuff, that Red Bar. I did some research on them.
Yeah, that I don't know.
Yeah. In fact, there's supposedly a Red Bar chapter in Louisville that has over 70 members, and none of their websites work.
Yeah, I find them a very difficult group to get in touch with.
Yeah, not even their, Instagram and all that other stuff doesn't work, but they boast that they have 70 members.
Is it just done mostly on social media, or?
I think so. I
Yeah.
think so.
I don't think it's a very well organized group, which
Mhm.
might be a good thing. So,
Well, Carlos, the Carlos group is seems to be pretty organized.
yeah.
Um, uh, Anybody else got any clues on if you wanted to hang out with other watch people, where you might go or how you might find out about them? Yeah, Bob, DeVeris.
Well, I agree with Don. This is the magazine that he was just talking about, Watch Time, and it's a great magazine. And my other magazine is this one that we all know. And there's also another magazine called Watch Pro, but Watch Time is much more enjoyable than Watch Pro, to me anyway. And as far as what I do to get more informed, is the YouTube videos. There's a lot of well-versed watch people doing YouTube videos. Most of them are in the business of selling watches, but it's very informative. They're giving their knowledge to people listening, obviously, and that's one of the things that I do. And watch podcasts. I listen to a lot of those also. And as far as the watch collector clubs go, it's a matter of uh, meeting with different people to see what's going on in your own area. And I'm also a big believer of NAWCC, which I get a lot of information from. Uh, I visit different watch stores when I'm in bigger cities. And there's a lot of watch boutiques in bigger cities, like in Nashville and Louisville,
Mhm.
etc. Uh, that's one of the ways that I get informed.
Mhm. Well,
Do you watch the Tim Mosso reviews of watches?
I must have watched 1,000 of his reviews. I met him a couple of years ago. He's a great guy, and
He is amazing.
uh,
His knowledge of watches is just incredible.
he, I wish I had 1% of his memory for numbers.
Yeah.
He can give you every different, what caliber it is, what reference number it is. I hardly remember the reference numbers of my own watches, much less thousands and thousands of others. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe
No,
three or four of mine, and that's it.
yeah, I agree
well,
with you completely.
and to get involved with local things that are going on, I know you have to be kind of on the uh, text list to find out about the local watch gatherings. But I was in a meeting last week where a gentleman from California talked about that different watch groups organize like gatherings at bars where they
Yeah,
advertise at jewelry stores and around that there's going to be a gathering, almost like uh, a mob gathering that they just say, hey, at this bar at this time, and we're gathering, and they are surprised at how many people show up because they're curious about showing off their watch and seeing what other people are interested in. Anybody heard anything about like that happening around them?
I get notices about Red Bar meeting at various jewelers or watch stores from time to time. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, and if I can't find a group, I'm afraid that I'm going to have a I don't know if it's going to be a beer and watch gathering and print up flyers and hand them out at all the jewelry stores, or uh, take some kind of promotion, get one of the pizza parlors or something to give us their back room or something to so because there are a lot of people interested in watches. Bob DeFerris mentioned the NAWCC. uh, when people are talking about, it seems like more and more watch people are coming to the marts. Well, if you think about the name of that organization, the National Association of Watch and clock collectors. I'm surprised there's not a lot of watch people involved, or a lot more.
You know, they could throw a very nice event at the museum, and some evening event and call it Watch Out or something like that. And
Watch out.
it would attract a lot of collectors, I'm sure.
Yeah. And I
Is
know
that your behind you that
Go
you're
ahead,
showing on
Phil.
the screen? I said, is that your collection that you're showing behind on your background?
No, not my collection.
Now, Tom, I think this last weekend, as is mostly in Lancaster, they had a big watch thing, including some events at the museum and the School of Horology. Um, the big watch, the jewelry store in Lancaster promoted it. I think they're in the Bowman Building. In fact, they were having some big event, I think, up on the third floor of the Bowman Building. So I think it was quite a big deal.
Yeah. Do you know how well it was attended?
I haven't heard yet, but I assume probably pretty well, because I was talking to Rory McAvoy, and he was on his way back from Missouri and actually had some car trouble, and he had to be back by noon Saturday because he was doing some presentation. And I think he got back, but I think they had big plans for it. So hopefully it was very well attended.
Yeah, well, you would think there'd be a lot of watch activity in Lancaster with the history of Hamilton there.
Oh, there's that, and RWC is
Yeah.
over there.
Absolutely.
Or-
Well, when you get out to where the corn grows, Chuck, do you see any watch-focused activities happening?
Well, no, I haven't seen that. And not to get off topic, but same goes with clocks. So it's kind of, what's that called? A desert area.
Yeah.
A watch desert.
Yeah.
But I do have a question for you, Frank.
Yeah.
Do you use saddle soap on your watch bands?
Actually, the only thing that I get to moisturize my watch bands is a little sweat. So try and keep them clean, wipe them off. But that's a thought. That's a thought.
Well, saddle soap does take out some of the salts and different things that are deposited. I haven't used it for watch bands, but I have used it for bicycle seats.
I've read somewhere that you should never use shoe polish on a watch band. I'm not sure why, but it seemed like that's used to polish leather, and watch bands are leather. I don't know why, but I don't use shoe polish on mine.
Yeah.
But saddle soap is a kind of more of a cleaner and a lubricant to keep it supple.
Yeah, it's entirely different than shoe polish.
Which is a wax.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, how about out on the West Coast up there, Dennis? Or do you see any focus on watches, or is it strictly clocks where you're living?
No, it's balanced. At our regional we held last May, I had a table and I actually sold, I think, 12 wristwatches and 0 pocket watches, and I had about an equal number of each in my display. It kind of shocked me that the interest was so high, including some pretty high-end stuff. I had a nice solid gold Omega, and the guy scolded me, that the fellow that bought it, because I had put one of these Spidell twist-on bands on it that has an adjustable end.
Yeah.
And if you, what that is a little spring-loaded, so you don't buy one size that fits any size width of the lugs.
Yeah.
And the reason he didn't like that on the gold watch is because if over time it will wear the lugs considerably. And he told me on gold filled ones he's seen them wear clear through the gold layer. This one had to be solid gold, and the band had not been on there very long, so it hadn't worn into it. But watch out for that if you've got a really nice case you want to not damage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I always look for calfskin. I don't know why. I like buckling, the old
Yeah,
buckles.
I'm kind of a stretch on band. I wear my Breitling every day,
Mm-hmm.
and they fit the lugs perfect.
Yep. Well, good morning, Chris Martin. You just dropping in to see what the heck they're talking about, or you have a
Yeah,
watch?
I'm not much of a watch guy. I have a few, mostly Omegas.
Mhm.
Two of them I inherited. Um, one's unique. It was my grandfather's. He owned a Pontiac dealership up in Kingston, New York, and it's got the Pontiac logo on the dial.
Ah,
Family heirloom.
uh, and and it's things like that that I think make the unusual watch very collectible. Um, there are, when you say watch collectors, they're not just collecting watches. They have niches. Um, they're either uh, uh, gold cased high end watches, or they just collect Omegas, or they just collect military engraved backs on watches. There as many niches as there are in clock collectors. I think there's equal number of niches that are little cubby holes where people define what they collect. For instance, when I started looking at wristwatches, I decided, well, they got to be at least as old as I am.
I
So,
was surprised that original had a fella come by that was the Seiko collector,
yeah,
and I had a couple of them that had lugged around for probably 5, 6 years, and zip, zip, they both went away.
yeah. Well, uh, as we enjoy sharing horology, we have to encourage gatherings to learn more, to share with each other, and to show off what we got, right? Show off what we've got. Well, Phil, have you found that wristwatch with the cuckoo in it yet?
Not really.
No. But they do have wristwatches that make noise. You have them with alarms, right? That kind of buzz, but they work. The
Minute
alarms.
repeaters are pretty fascinating too. They actually date back to before the light bulb because they were useful then,
Yeah.
even in pocket watches many, many years ago. Because when it got dark, you couldn't tell what time it was. So the minute repeater had a little lever on the side of the case. You pull that down and it will chime out the time for you.
Mhm. Yeah, I know a pocket watch collector that graduated from, he could afford hourly repeaters, then it was quarterly repeaters, and now he only collects minute repeaters. So very interesting, very interesting. Well, when we talk about horology, we can't just think about clocks, tall clocks, tower clocks, kitchen clocks. That watches is a growing activity in the category of horology. We can all learn a little bit more about it. And the way we learn is to get together with other people that have the same interest. Whereas, as I've said multiple times, there's safety in a multitude of counselors. So I don't know if I would take one apart on a McDonald's table, but I have ventured into watches. So I have some. I haven't given up clocks. I've defined my niche. So I'm not collecting every watch I see. So it all works out well. Well, I want to encourage people to figure out how to start watch gatherings so that when you don't just run into them at a mart at a event that somebody else has handled, but that you maybe organize. Somebody mentioned here a watch out. And if you're looking for a place, libraries always offer free rooms. And if you go into a pizza parlor, they'll usually say, you're going to bring how many people in here? And they might be hungry. Or a coffee shop. Who knows? And then all you have to do is print out some flyers and spread them around. Jewelry stores are excited about encouraging watch people. In fact, it's been mentioned, and I've learned this in this week and figuring it out, that if you approach somebody in a high-end jewelry store and say, hey, would you like me to bring in a half a dozen people just so you could show off these high-end watches? Oh yeah, what time will they be here? So you can start the spark that might start a fire that could suddenly become a regular watch gathering kind of thing in your area. Remember, some organizations, watches come before clocks. So anyone else have anything they'd like to share this morning in the search for the watch crowds?
I have
I'll
a
check
question for the, Frank, I have a question for the group.
regional.
Yes, Chris?
In York this weekend. So see how many watch people are there.
Yeah. That's a regional in York. You're on
Yeah.
your way, Phil.
I'll
Yeah.
get to go to the museum too. So tomorrow.
Be good. Be good.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, Chris, you had a question for the group.
Yeah, that watch I described, the Omega's got a leather band on it. And I'm sure it's never been treated or cleaned. What would the group recommend I use
For the band or for the
Yes.
watch?
for the band?
Well, Chuck has suggested saddle soap.
Mm-hmm.
I'd have to think not too much water. Some kind of conditioner. Mhm.
Okay.
I don't know that this is recommended, but I have always used neat's foot oil on leather scabbards or pistol holsters or such. It freshens it up. And I wouldn't be surprised a few drops of that on the band would be good for it.
Yeah, you might be cautious. I remember using neat's foot oil on my hiking boots when I was a kid, and definitely turned them dark. But
The
yeah,
old hiking boots, I don't know if you can still buy it, but it was called Hubbard shoe grease, and it was kind of a bear grease of some kind. Your hands would stink for 2 weeks after you applied it.
reapply. Yeah. Well, there's a couple of ideas for you, Chris. But
Okay.
as you go about it, you might take a little bit and use it on the inside. Just try it in a spot and see how it affects it. But and if it causes the glue to come apart, you now know how to glue it back together. Other than that, it's been great getting together with you this morning. I still hear Bob Marley in the back of my head going on. Every little thing is going to be all right. So y'all take care of yourselves this week. I will not be on next Wednesday, for I will be traveling. I'll be up in Iowa. I'll miss Chuck, but I still will look forward to a Iowa pork tenderloin. So while I'm there. So we'll see you in 2 weeks. Until then, remember, the flu is out there. You can get a shot. COVID is out there. You can get a vaccine, or you can do what I do. Please don't stand so close to me. Until then, till next time, take care of yourselves and watch out for what's going on in horology.